All right. Welcome back to the Go for CEO channel. And I am super excited because you know what? This one is number 100. That's right. 100 videos. And, a brother from another mother, Colombian roots. I commandeered him. I said, I got to have you on the channel, brother. It's been a while, and I've gotten a chance to get to know this gentleman over the last 4 to 6 months. Really been doing some great things, as you guys know, in the clubhouse scene of that app, building incredible relationships. You've seen some of the people that have come on, the CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs. And on the Go for CEO community, we really believe that these stories are going to impact people because these are people just in the neighborhood, in the cities, in the suburbs, around the nation, around the country, around the world, that are giving back the right way by building incredible businesses. So today we have Mr. Jason Jimenez joining the Go for CEO community. He's an owner of IMD insurance and financial services company, Redstone Capital, a capital deployment company. Then he's got in 2017 he was 40 under 40 in Houston area out there. So he's been dominating for a long time. Super excited to have you on, Jason Jimenez. How are you?
I'm blessed, sir. Really happy to be here. Thank you.
Awesome, brother. Well, hey, look, I didn't mention the secret company that you actually just brought up, and it's not so secret anymore because you're exploding all over the place. I just heard offline about a billboard that you've commandeered based on the relationship with this company. So why don't you tell us, some of the background of how you come to ideas of businesses, because you've owned multiple of them. You own currently also another one, Shield. I forgot about cybersecurity. So you own all these companies, but now you laid the groundwork for this most recent one. I'd love for you to introduce it and really give the power to it of how you came up with this idea, and one of your co-founders, Coach Ron Tuning.
Yeah, no, for sure. First of all, I have to say thank you to all of the things that have happened in the last 2 years with the pandemic. As some things could be very negative and some things could be very somber and heart-wrenching. But through those last 2 years, there was also some very good things. And I think that the pandemic created the opportunity for people to think different, to act different. They were forced to do things that they weren't necessarily ready to do, but they were needed to do it in order to survive. The social audio app Clubhouse was created at a moment that was like the perfect storm that allowed people to have voice. And I got in it in February. And at the beginning, it was like, what is this? And then I got addicted because I heard really powerful and motivating, inspiring things. And then I got to a point of like, okay, let's figure out who is actually real and who's actually not good person, and figure out who you want to associate with. And then the question came out to be, just because of, I just like the entrepreneur side, is there a way to be able to be of service, monetize, to be able to spend quality time, and intentional time. And then one day, Coach Ron Tuning came on and said, listen, we met at this other particular club called What It Takes to Run a $1 million business, which was ran by a couple, Dan and Kate. And they had created an environment where people had the ability to share. And Coach said, look, this particular community focuses on this. I believe there's an opportunity for this other vision that I have. And he said, look, would you like to kind of take on the reins and help me build this? I'm in my late 70s. I retired. I sold my business a couple of years ago. I just want to help people, but I don't have the young blood in me to go and run it. And he shared with me that he wanted something that was catered to people that are in the six figures, that had issues and trials and issues that they didn't know how to solve, but they needed a community so they can support by. They knew that if you're from the six figures trying to get to the seven, that you're in a position where you have different problems, and they wanted to have solutions. And then you also have the situation where the one thing that was consistent in the pandemic is that you could always count on was community. And if we put ourselves first in the ability of making sure that we look at the person in front of us and be able to help each other out, there's nothing that can stop us. And so the way he shared that with me was so compelling to me. And it was the right moment for me because I have been out of the nonprofit world for about a good 3 years. And I wanted to get back into something. And this to me was one of those things. And it fulfilled on, as I've mentioned to you before, the three things in my life that are really important if I get involved in. And all the companies that I have interest in have the same. I have to own a piece of it. Doesn't have to be 100%. I have to have the ability to make unlimited income. And I was going to be the only limitation. And last but not least is I wanted to be of service to another human being. And the Landing Big Wells was created from that. And as you know it, like the back of your hand, rule number one is it's not about you, it's about the person speaking, to be patient. And the third one is trust the process. And we've stuck with that. And gratefully, we have grown tremendously, a lot faster than we could imagine. We are still young, but yet we have so many things that we're about to roll out in the next couple of months that I'm super excited about.
That is phenomenal, right? And look, you took the opportunity, right, to combine efforts with a gentleman that had some massive success in his life. He saw something in you, that star that inside of you, right? And obviously did some background on you, and you've been successful at different businesses at different times of your life. And then you take this social audio app that has this incredible mechanism of mixing all types of personalities and all types of backgrounds. So the one way I'd love to go is, what did you start thinking? Like, all right, so you get this idea, you and coach start talking about it. What are some of the first steps from what you know about building a traditional business, now taking this social audio community that you've built good relationships? What's one of the first 2 or 3 steps that someone can really learn from the way that you started to build this process out for you?
Yeah, great question. And it's no different than anything that I've ever started. Number one is, what are we committed to? And that's, if you can genuinely answer that in business, it correlates to the personal. Because I believe in, and my wife and I debate this over the years, but personal and business is, to me, intertwined. I have to be, I do what I do because I create for my personal. I do what I do in my business to live the lifestyle. I do the things that I do because it makes me feel a certain way. So what you're committed to is super important. And to me, it was Landing Big Wells gave me the ability to create happiness and joy. That's what I'm committed to. Why? Because I know for a fact that happiness only lasts for 16 seconds. But if I keep playing the game of how many times I can be happy, boy, it's a fun game to play. Knowing that joy has a longer lasting feeling, sense of longer implementation of where it lasts. And if I could provide that in a platform where other people are looking for something. The reason people get onto social audio apps is because of 3 things. I hate or dislike where I'm at, or I'm looking for something that I don't know what to look for. But if I hopefully hear it and or see it, wow, I get that much closer to what's important to me. We have met, between you and I, incredible human beings. And some people that I can tell you that have said one thing and you're like, okay, that made it worth the day. And so what we basically said is, now that we knew what we were committed to, the question was, I needed to build the strongest possible operational team that I could possibly build to help me take on this real mammoth of an organization to be able to deploy it. Because the first thing that people look into when you go and decide to partner with someone, to initiate, to work for, to collaborate with, is you look at the very top. You look at who your operational team is to determine if they have the following. Do they have the skill set, the ability, and do they have the want? If they can't demonstrate that, and if I can't believe into that, it makes it that much harder. So the very beginning part of those phases of starting anything really boiled down to those couple of things. What am I committed to? And then building the intention around that with a strong operational team, because the operational team was going to be able to deploy it.
So let's go a little bit deeper. I love the the presence of being able to put a system together, understanding the building blocks that you say from the top of the house, right, to represent the organization correctly. But a lot of people don't realize the grunt work that you have to put in, right? The
Yeah.
actual time that you have to establish. So give us a little bit of the inside scoop of what kind of time did you put in to actually vet out and really talk to what would be what would end up as your core executive team?
It's interesting you say that. And I think this is the first time I've actually said this in public, but I was recruiting from probably month one of me being on Clubhouse, because I knew that there was something special about the social audio app. I knew there was something special about Clubhouse. The first month was about trying to figure out what the hell this app is all about. But once I figured it out, it was about, all right, what can I build from it? How can I adapt this to my businesses? How can my businesses be a contribution to it? And more, it's no different than having a one-on-one with somebody. If I'm having a one-on-one with you, I'm doing three things. Who could you be of service to? How can you service someone? And just as important is, how can you service me? And that's how I took it on month two. So from month two and on, all I did was basically identified individuals that I would generally say, wow, they're center-hearted. Their heart is from the center, and they move everything, and they act and they react, and they are consistent. It's not like they're this person today and then tomorrow they're this person. But then it was also from the perspective of being able to say, okay, what comes out of their mouth is powerful. Now let me do some data research on their social media. Why? Because of the fact that just as no different than you look me up, there's some people's social media, people get to see a different version of someone. It's no different than when most companies nowadays, when you're going through an interview, it's no longer the one-on-one interviews. It's, let me go look at your social media to see if what you're saying is actually consistent to who you are. Mm-hmm. And when you see those two correlations happen, and then you see the background of resumes, because it's always important to know what people have accomplished in their tenure. But it also is important, and to me, what's more important is what you have the capacity and ability to do moving forward. What the past to me means probably 20%. The 80% for me is all about, can you be willing, and are you willing to put in the time to things that you're committed to, and does it align? And if it doesn't, then that's okay. You're just not the right person. And so those last couple of months was all about the recruitment, building relationships, finding relationships, committing to it, putting my time in and making sure that I was honorable, that I wasn't doing it for malicious or for deceiving reasons. It was intentional. Because I believe in a quote that you've heard me say before. It was, a friend will always be there for a friend. An acquaintance you can never count on. Allow me to be your friend. It's no different than if you ever ask me something, there's no question. I'm going to do it for you. Why? Because I know you and you know me. That's what friends do. And when you start building that, then anything's possible.
So it's interesting. I mean, you obviously cultivated relationships, you built friendships, and then obviously from the point that coach approached you on this idea of landing big whales and incorporating and doing it, making it an entity, you start to put those building blocks together from the top of the house. So it's interesting. I mean, like any other business, you start to understand, all right, well, hey, now I've got my leadership team, and it took a little bit to build that. So what's one of the other next steps that you're taking? You've got the leadership team. What are some things, the way that you think about business and all the businesses that you put together? What's that next layer of thoughts for processes? Is it operations? Are you starting to think, okay, well, how do I market this? What are some ideas from there?
Yeah. So people, process, product, right? Mm. So at fundamentals, right? And it's also about the SOPs that you put around it. As long as you base it around those three things, people, product, and process, you can only, when something's not going wrong, when something's going wrong, or something's not going well, or there's a breakdown, it goes down to one of those things. If you know that the product's good, well, that means it's either the person or the process. And then you just laser focused on that. And so right now we understand that our product is good. Why? Because we believe it. And why? Because it's not mine. It's a collective group of individuals that says, this is what's important to me. This is what I need. This is what I want, because it gets me where I need to be. If I take John Andrade and saying, my goal is to do $45 million in lending within the next 30, 60, 90 days, or whatever the goal is, then the organization can revolve around that, because now we're building up a community. It's no longer, it goes back to the rule number one. It's not about me, it's about you. But the community comes in to be able to know that. The differentiation is that we've built a platform where people have the ability to not only tell us who they are, what they do, how they do it, what's important to them, and last but not least, what their goals are for the next 12 months, because that's what matters. The first couple of questions are only about content, context, what it is that makes people where they are and why they do things. The real important question that we teach everybody in our community is, what are you trying to achieve in the next 12 months? Why? Because it's a missing. It's not present. That if I focus that on John, I will help John achieve that. Why? Because he gave me the following things that most people forget to do in the areas of networking and in the areas of really being of service. Most people don't give direction. Most people don't give a directive. They just assume that because we did a one-on-one that I know how to sell you. No, that's not the way life works. Why? Because the moment I hang up the phone, or the moment we finish the Zoom, I've got another appointment to go to. I got my kids, I got my work, I may get sick, who knows? And your world isn't as important as mine. That's just a fact. And yet, but if you give me a directive, if you give me a direction, if you will, a mini training of how to sell you, man, the world changes. Because that's what we teach people in our community. Because the moment we do that, we become more intentional. And that right now is the number one thing that we are layering on to teach people how to do, because I am committed to putting money in people's pockets. Why? Because I know that that's what makes the world move forward. Now, people may say, well, money doesn't make happiness. It reminds me of a quote that I was given. Money is like the sixth sense. It allows you to enjoy the other five.
Deep, dropping bombs. I love it. So it's interesting to kind of, hear you speak about some of the ways that you really think about things. And I've told you on Clubhouse, you're one of the deeper thinkers, one of the people that I've admired. I tend to be sometimes, I don't like to say shallow, but I mean, I think I'm very direct about, all right, hey, let's do this. Let's go here. Let's move forward. But I've really gained a lot of perspective in Gopher CEO community. You could hear in the wisdom that Jason's talking about, right? How are you thinking? How are you articulating? How are you giving direction, even to a new contact? How valuable can that contact be? Because it's always one person away from changing your whole life, right? So it's incredible to have that desire, and as you attract those people, it just becomes a crystallization. So let's go even now to a different direction. All right, Landing Big Whales gets formed. This idea, you put the executive board together. Now you have the trust that you have out there, and people are operating on it. I know that on a daily basis, especially on Clubhouse, you're doing rooms. But what are some of the services that you guys are starting to develop to be able to bring value to the marketplace?
Yeah. So number one, there's several prongs that are being put out. Number one is the fact that we have a philanthropic side. I believe that everything that we do has to be with intention. And the intention is also to be of service to people, which is one of the three things that I told you that I have to have within the things that I'm involved in. So the number one thing that we're focusing on is being able to integrate a model where we have the ability to help nonprofits who have for-profit issues, or with people that have an intention to deliver an initiative, but they get stuck in their business model. They get stuck because of operations, finance, or marketing. And then what they're looking at doing is they're looking at it, be able to say is, I don't have the funds, I don't have the skill set, I don't have the personnel, or I don't have the technology. What we're committed in doing is building a platform that has the ability to provide them that. So through our model that we're building out and we intend to roll out by mid-December, if definitely by January, is to be able to roll out a model where a portion of what we create as an organization, as a community that is collective, we're going to put to a fund that is specifically there to build and to invest into nonprofits, subject to the fact that they have a clear nonprofit that's in good standing, that we look at their financials, which are open public records, that we understand and know that their money is going to what they're committed to, and that their leadership team actually is solid. No different than what we talked about before. Operational team has to be good. And if they have those elements, but they're plateaued or they're having an issue and we can get them across, then what we're doing is we're going back into the community of the landing big wells and saying, who has a skill set, who has the capacity, and who has the want, as I said before, to help this nonprofit, because they would be the best solution for them. And then those funds that we raise, we want to take those funds, hire that individual landing big wells moderator, if you will, to come in and fulfill on the nonprofit's needs to help them initiate and really impact the community. So that is a big part of what we're going to be doing. And we're already building the foundations around that. Number two, to be able to go and ensure that the people that come into the club as whale moderators, it's because of the fact that they have all the fundamentals that we've talked about, and they have demonstrated and have a want to participate. No different than you, John. You have committed and taken on Mondays as being Mindset Mondays, and it is something that gives people value, but it gives people an access to getting to them, to know who you are, to be able to drive them to the company that you have, to the companies that you have, so that it gets you that much closer to be able to engage the people who need your services. Mm-hmm. That is mission number two. It is with the intention of driving business to people because they need it, not because they wanted it as much. It's really because they needed it. They lack the knowledge of Mindset Mondays. They lack the ability to know where to get financing for their business. And you are the solution for them. It is building a community just as much for the other wells, to the ones who take advantage of it. The people who understand that what we're creating is an opportunity for people to give voice and to train them to be able to be as successful as that they can be. And it's landing big wells is not supposed to be the wheel. It is supposed to be the spoke on your wheel. But I am committed to making sure that that spoke is the strongest referral source that's going to bring income to the people that are in the community, including and not limited to the members of the club, the people who come into the rooms and listen, and then get to the point where they feel confident enough to participate and share their stories. Because the one thing that we have found, and you and I have experienced this many times, someone's talking about a problem or issue that they're having, and I'm looking at myself like, damn, I'm going through that same damn thing. Mm-hmm. Or I'm going through it and saying, man, I did that last year, and this is how I did it, and this is what you don't need to do. And I tell them what I did wrong so that they don't experience that. And that's powerful. Or the opposite. Here's what I did. And after messing it up here, here's what I ended up doing because I met this person who told me what to do or shared with me an idea. I implemented it. And it's not, for that reason is why I'm 2 years ahead of schedule. If you're in the room, if you're in the environment, that's what we create. And that's super powerful. The third one, and this is the last. The third one is about being able to understand that we create an environment of one of the strongest networking organizations out there in the world that has been able and will be able to actually be internally referral, but while teaching people who want and aspire to be you, John, or want to inspire to be anybody who is a whale. Everybody who shows up says, I wish I was like John Andrade. People say it all the time. And what if we gave them the ability to put them on a path to be John? That creates community. And that allows people to have voice because they should. The reason why entrepreneurship is the leading industry and why the world is, why you have unemployment and why people are choosing maybe not to work is because there's a large percentage of people saying, well, hell, I think I can do this for myself because I heard John talk. That's super powerful. And I want to be in the center of it. I want to be the one person with a group of individuals that are like-minded, that are committed to that.
So super impactful. Like, the way you described it in my mind is social impact, right? For the business to be able to have a kind of a guiding light, shareholder value for the people that are invested in the community, getting that value based on how they produce and internally produce for each other. And then from the rear coming up is really giving the value to the marketplace, right? And them accepting it by learning from the top to bottom and learning the social and the shareholder value and all the things that are coming out. So fantastic stuff. I love the just the ability to be able to be around that community. I know I've seen it on Social Tap now, moved from the WhatsApp, and this community growing. There's people that you make time to really just spend 15, 20, 30 minutes to get to know them. A lot of times it goes to 45 minutes to an hour because you're just having a great conversation and you're learning more about how can those three elements be expressed, right? So look, you mentioned a couple things: operations, marketing. Right now, what are the next steps as far as going into 2022 that you see, as far as just, again, a young company, just recently established, executive team moving forward? What are some things that maybe marketing wise you want to get out there? Obviously, we thank you for being the 100th episode on the Go for CEO channel and the collaboration that we're going to do. But what are some other marketing things that you feel are on the horizon coming up?
Yeah, so we have just recently have engaged several platforms that I'm now able to share. Number one is we've engaged a gentleman by the name of Dave Krager, and he has a project called the Love Project. And the Love Project is basically the idea of just, if you see the word love, but before I get there, we as humans are meaning-making machines. That is a fact. There's nothing that goes around that we don't put meaning to. If you agreed to that to be true, then the intention is to understand that if I put the word love up, or even if I just say it, immediately people start putting some form of memory or feeling to it in some capacity. But it's a positive one. So what we've done is we've partnered up with Dave Krager and his partner in the Love Project to be able to help them push out that initiative of what love means to whoever and whenever they see the word love and how that impacts them. Our intention is to be able to push that word into billboards across the nation. There's already billboards around the country and in several countries that are out there that are simply getting notoriety, and they're getting publications and PR. And we, as a matter of fact, Landing Big Wells, we have sponsored a billboard that's coming up in December here in Houston, Texas, where I'm at. And so we have several of the whales that are here who are going to come out. We're going to support it. We're going to put together an event and be able to put documentary data for the documentary that he's putting together. And so we're committed to that. And the hope is that people just embrace it and to share it, to wear the shirt, to wear the sticker, just to share it. No different than social media. We intend to be able to take our marketing team, who we are very proud of, and I can tell you, between Jackie Bowles, who is our chief marketing officer, man, she has put some grueling time into building out this selfishly. Why? Because she believes in me, she believes in Coach, she believes in you, she believes in the leadership team, and because she sees the transformational change that's happening. Everything she's putting together is with the intention to be able to say, our marketing budget is there to put money into John Andrade's or to any of the other wells that are part of us, to be able to say, okay, here's part of the marketing budget, because when you give us marketing material, we'll create marketing initiatives that we push out through social media, so that no longer does John have to feel like it's his budget by himself. He's got a community that is creating business, doing business that we can reinvest back into John Andrade and every well and or any member that's participating. That's leverage of power. That's leverage of community. It goes back to that quote, and I'm a quote guys. If you can't realize, don't notice already. I would rather have 100% of. I'd rather have 1% of 100 people versus 100% of my own efforts.
Henry
That's what
Ford.
makes us powerful.
Yeah.
Period. And that's who we are.
I love it. I love it, man. So many different angles, right? And it's so cool. I mean, look, let's give a little insight only because I feel like, the conversation has been so deep about, this new entity. But I'd love to give a little bit of, praise to obviously a guy that, 40 under 40 in 2017, rocking it in Houston.
14.
I mean, or 2014, sorry, 2014. So 7 years ago, obviously a little bit older, a little bit wiser now. So, but you manage all these businesses too. You've got IMD and Shield and Redstone and now Landing Big Whales. Somebody's got to be watching this going like, how the hell is this guy doing it? Right. So like, what does he do? What is the thing? So give us a clue into, the CEO mindset, which you're on Go for CEO, right? Let's give us a little bit of that mindset of, how do I schedule myself and how do I give it a fair share and understanding of how to run multiple businesses, right? And I think I have a little bit of a clue because I know you, but I'd love for the Go for CEO community to hear you say it.
Yeah, for sure. The one question I usually get is the following: is when do you sleep? And my answer to that is when I need to. And I'll go into the context behind it. It's the fact that I practice meditation because it is the one thing that allows me to get centered. And yes, you were right. I am very deep, but I've learned to become that. But I'm also action oriented, which is what you're really, really strong in. You don't fluff. You got to do something, you just do it, and that's it. There's no questions about it because you know that's what needs to be done. And so what ends up happening is that in order for me to be able to do the multiple things that I do, there are three things that I have to have in place. One is I have to have a team that believes in me. If I don't have that, I don't have anything. Number two, I have to be willing and able to understand that I am only a master of one thing. I'm really good at one thing. The rest of it, I may be able to do, but I shouldn't be doing it. And then identifying those individuals that can come in that either are just as good as one thing that I master, if not better, but are willing to understand that the intention of what we're building is not about me, it's about us. And then I share within that. And that may be monetarily from a income perspective, or it may be simply from an equity perspective. So when I'm creating something, it's because I'm creating it because there's a win-win. No one will do something because they feel undervalued. No one. They do it because they feel valued. And they feel because they feel like they've been given voice. Not ever going to be perfect. And there's going to be disputes at times. But if you commit to the point of, we use the EOS method here in the company that we have. And it's like, it basically boils down to the fact of accountability and making sure that we're committed to solving the issues. There's a section called an IDS, identify, discuss, and solve. When there's a problem, we identify the issue, find the root cause of why it didn't work, like really find out. Like, it's kind of one of those, like, you got to kind of take off your clothes and, open up and be very vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And be knowing that if I tell you, John, this is what you did wrong, you're the cause of it, you have to be willing to accept it. But knowing that it comes from a good place, not from a place of making you wrong, making you small. It comes from a place that you're better than that. And it's impacting the business as a community as a whole. Because if I do something, it also impacts you. So that's building that out. But knowing the fact that the only reason that there is option number two or an entity number two, it's because I have already, my first business, it's running. I have a team to operate it. Mm-hmm. Hell, it's not perfect. There's times I have to get back in it. But the only reason I have the ability to expand myself is because I have a team. But don't kid anyone. I'm not trying to kid anyone, period. I had to do the grunt and the late nights and the mornings and do what I have to do. I had to be the janitor and the CEO all in the same day. But eventually I pulled myself out of it to be able to do Redstone and then Shield and now landing big wells. But the one thing that I can tell you, and people may not know this about me, is even though if they understand that it has to have those three elements that I mentioned about earlier, it's important to me. It is also important. The thing is that at the very center of everything I do is IMD Insurance and Financial Services, because it is one company that has the residual income and it has scalability and has continued growth. And quite frankly, as long as I continue to sell, as continue to be of service to people, this will never go away. Redstone, Shield, landing big wells are my prongs. They are basically a self-proclaimed prophecy that if I treat them right, if I take care of them right, if I nurture them, they could funnel business to IMD Insurance and Financial Services. Does that make
The hub
sense?
and spoke. I love it. I love it. So look, one of the ways that, or the way that we end our interviews is really with the CEO mindset, right? Of running a business and ultimately being driven by mindset in everything that we do and becoming the CEO of your life. But there is three simple questions that we end with. Client experience is the C. E is for employee engagement, and O is for operational excellence. And we've touched on many of that. I think on the employee side, we talked about, obviously at the top level, the executives that you recruited, and that type of stuff. But I don't want to take away the thunder because I know that you're going to deliver on these last three questions. So client experience, if you think about every business that you have, what's the value added proposition for you when you think about every company that you run when it comes to client experience?
Protection, to be of service, and to feel that they are involved with something that's much bigger than them.
Interesting.
Those are the three fundamentals.
So when you think, good.
The things that I do revolve around protecting those who can't protect themselves. If I put my insurance hat on, I protect people's shelter, their transportation, their business, their life, and in today's world, their identity. If something goes wrong in one area, it will affect all others. I have the privilege of providing insurance policies that give them the financial means so that they can focus on what's important to them, to protect the things that they work really hard for. When I go into Redstone, which is a capital consulting firm, I'm creating the environment of being able to be of service to someone based on their dream and the aspirations. They come to me specifically because an individual says, I've gone through so many resources and everyone's told me no, or I'm not ready yet. And I make the impossible possible by showing alternative ways of getting them the financial needs or the consulting services that are needed in order to get them to a point where they're able to get funding. Watching the transformational change that their family will never be the same, and watching somebody's face just light up of saying, I never thought I was going to get this money to be able to get to the point where I'm able to provide something for my family. It's the most rewarding thing in the world. And then you look at Shield, which is quite frankly something that is overtaking the world. People are losing money. They're losing their livelihoods. People have killed themselves because of stealing their identity. People, the small to medium-sized businesses are probably the most impactful ones. And I am committed in making sure that I protect those who can't protect themselves. And one thing that you don't know about me is I was severely bullied when I was growing up, and I can't stand the bully. But I have grown to be very strong in certain areas, and I will be a stand for those who can't stand for themselves. And Shield represents a representation of that. Landing big wells, it's because it's not about you, it's about the other people in front of you. And you put all those things together, it's about being of service.
That's a client experience, man. What an awesome thing. And, check out Jason's, each one of the companies and the areas that he's developed, do the business with him. So go for CEO community. Here's the next one, employee engagement. So what's maybe one or two things that you really do when you think about all the organizations that you run and the employee engagement and how they want to be with you and want to work with your team?
Because I know everything I need to know about every person that I am privileged to work with. I will hardly ever, and maybe every now and then may slip out, that's the honest truth, but I will never call anybody an employee. I will never call anybody anything outside of being an associate and or someone that I am privileged to work with. And that works with me. I know what's important to them. I know what their goals are. I know what makes them really jive, and I know what pisses them off. And if I understand those perspectives, then I can create an environment that gives them a roadmap to be able to get to where they're needing. And I am just a tool. I am basically the tool that allows them to achieve what they need. If I'm able to create that and show the employment engagement to where they can see how the products or services that I provide as a tool to be able to get to where they need to, well, I get engagement simply because of the fact that I am an access. By doing that, I get what I need and I get what I want. And we're doing it together. Because why else would you want to do anything for anybody that is not willing to do it for you? That's not a relationship.
Phenomenal. What a family environment, definitely. And she's changing the terminology to associate is so key as well, right? Helping people feel empowered inside of your organization. So last one, operational excellence. You've touched on it in several different ways, but maybe that cherry on top, Jason, what is kind of the differentiator for your organizations and Landing Big Whales as far as operational excellence?
Transparency, vulnerability, and accountability. It's knowing that one doesn't happen without the other. It's knowing that I myself look and aspire to be made accountable. And knowing that every action I take, every word that I say has an impact to the decisions that people do or don't do. The operational excellence, the commitment to knowing that it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to move. It has to move in a way where we all communicate. And it's cliche, but rowing the boat in the same direction, saying the same words. It means a lot. Because if we say, I love you in 5 different manners, people are going to receive it differently. And eventually it'll fizzle out simply because we weren't on the same team and we weren't operating in the same wavelength. Operational excellence is key because it is the process out of people, process, and product. It is one of those 3. And that this one is the glue that makes everything work.
And exciting stuff. So look, we've truly enjoyed, and I hope the Go for CEO community really kind of engages into each and every one of your organizations, especially the Landing Big Whale, since obviously selfishly I'm a part of and growing that. And join us, ladies and gentlemen, on Clubhouse. Reach out to me or Jason in the comments if you want to be invited to Clubhouse. Come to the Landing Big Whales Club, become a part of the movement and the things that we're doing. I know Monday Money Mindset, as you shared, I've been so excited for 10 weeks now, just adding on to those experiences. Tonight, we're going to have another great show at 6:00. And throughout the day, there's so many opportunities for you to tap into and really be a part of the community. So, Jason, anything else as far as just how to get a hold of you? What is the best way to interact with you on social media? What are some ways and maybe just a description of how to connect with you?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, I want to say congratulations on your 100th episode. I'm honored to be number 100. I'm not going to go like Coach Ron says, hey, you're number 549, whatever, right? In friendship. But I'm super happy for your success. To contact me, if anybody wants to talk, you can email me directly at jason@imdins.com. I am on Instagram. You can connect me directly there. If you want to message me on Clubhouse, by all means, I'm available there. I'm around. Like it really, like I'm out there. So if you just Google my name on social media, you'll find it. If there's a message, a DM, just message me. If I could be of service, I will. If I can't be of service, I'll find somebody who can.
And that's Jason Jimenez, Jimenez, the man, the myth. All right, brother. Well, hey, thank you so much for being a part of the Go for CEO community. We dropped the bomb, and this is John the Bomb. Building others means business. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if we haven't mentioned it already. Be a part of the community with the Go for CEO community and the things that we're going to be doing with landing big whales so that you can land your big whale as well. So, Jason, many props and many thank yous. Obviously, a friend, first of all, and a community that we're building together, and having a part of it or being a part of it is truly special. So thank you so much. And we look forward to having you in the next 6 to 12 months. That's one of our secrets at the Go for CEO community. We want to bring you back because this landing big whales is going to be special. So over the next 6 to 12 months, we want to hear back about what's going on with LBW and obviously some of the other great organizations that you run. Is that something that we can have you back on?
Absolutely.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. Have a great one.
You too. Thank you.